I like the way that Ken Rosenthal put it. He was like, are we experiencing the winter meetings in terms of money being given out right now? Because in the past week and a half, it's extension season during the first week and a half of the year. You got Braun, Kratz, and Pierzynski today. Let's go right to it, though. I want to do an instant charge the mound because our first guest is coming on much sooner due to time constraints. So let's do this. Let's charge.
Charging the mound.
14 years, $500 million for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It broke late last night. Ken Rosenthal on the story. There is, as far as I saw, no deferrals, so it's just real money. And it's the second most money ever made by a Major League Baseball player, AJ, because Ohtani has 700, but net present value, it's more like in the 460 range. What did you think of this one? We had talked about numbers like this for a while. Ken has been on this story for probably the past 2 months or so.
What I think about it, I think they played this perfectly. I think that Vlad, I've been saying this as soon as his, his deadline, his so-called deadline came and passed. And he's like, look, all I want is 14 years and 500 million. And he basically put it in the team's lap. And with Atkins and Shapiro being possibly on the hot seat, I think that they, he played it perfectly and he got exactly what he wanted. And good for the Blue Jays fans. Good for Vlad Jr., good for Vlad Jr.'s agency. But wow, did he play them like a fiddle.
Good for the Blue Jays. Good for the Blue Jays in just the overall sense of this country following this team. You have a player that you can sell. He was homegrown. Actually a Canadian citizen too, being born in Montreal. Like there's so much that goes behind him. Oh, and he's a really good player. He's going to be an MVP candidate for the next 8 to 10 years during this contract. And this will draw other people to come to Toronto to play with Vlad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you got to have somebody that you latch onto, and why not make it Vladdy Jr.? Age is a huge factor when it comes to free agency. Some people are probably looking at this thinking it's crazy, but AJ, the years stretch out so that the average annual value doesn't get crazy. It's about $35.7 million per year. And that enables the Blue Jays, of course, to dance around the luxury tax, the soft cap, as we like to call it sometimes, even though it's not a real cap. But for the Blue Jays, they might go through some rough times coming up. Their farm system is not rated well. They might not have a good year this year, coming off a bad year last year. There's going to be money off the books. That could include Bo Bichette, unless they plan on signing him to an extension as well. It is really helpful to be able to bridge the gap from, pretty good contention years to the next one with Vladdy Jr.
No, agreed. But here's the thing is, again, they had to sign him. They had to. They absolutely, Ross Atkins and Shapiro had to sign Vladdy Jr., and he knew it. And that goes back to that. Yes, their farm system might not be great. Yes, he might bridge the gap to the next thing, but he's going to have to play through some lean years. But he knew that the Blue Jays organization had to sign him and could not let him hit free agency. So like I said, he did this perfectly. Oh, there's a deadline that I won't sign past. Well, he signed past that deadline when the numbers got to what he wanted. And as soon as he came out and said, well, here's what I want. I want $500 million. I can get more than that on the free agent market. 14 years, I could probably get that, more than that on the free agent market. The Blue Jays were like, 14 years, 500. How about this one? He's like, done. Take it. Thank you. Check. So yeah, there's some things he's going to have to play through. Yes, players might want to come play with him, but listen, Vlad Jr. and he's a Canadian-born hero. So the Blue Jays finally got their Canadian-born star long-term. Yeah,
and for some people that answered back to us last time we talked about this topic before he signed, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and said, "Oh, he's not a marketing draw." Sure, you might not get the same marketing dollars and crazy company deals that you would with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. Nobody's touching that. He definitely is a draw. You're a casual fan in Toronto in 2027 and they're not good. They will still go because they want to go see Vladdy Jr. He will put butts in seats. He is going to be, Canada's son of baseball for a long time now. Let's bring in Shi Dividi, Sportsnet reporter, on the scene with this as well. Shi, great to talk to you. Thanks for the time. What did you think when you saw it break and finally happen and the Blue Jays get their big player that they've homegrown to stay here for the rest of his career?
Well, a long time coming. And I agree with a lot of the points that you guys made that this was going to be a foundational type of deal for the Blue Jays. And if this didn't happen, given what's happening with their expiring core and everything that's coming up, the gap that they have in their farm system between the next potential carrying type player, first rounder from a couple of years ago, a guy named Arjun Namala, he was they were going to be in pretty bleak times. And we've seen them have trouble attracting elite free agents. They've certainly gotten a lot of them, and I think that narrative is a little bit exaggerated. But how are you going to get another player like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or like a Bo Bichette if you don't sign your own guys? And so uh, I think that this has gone through a lot of twists and turns. This has not been an easy process for either side, but them ending up at this point was the place where it was most logical because this is what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wanted, this is what the Blue Jays needed, and ultimately was just about how do they find that path to one another.
Do we know who was kind of in the way? Do you know if ownership was in the way of getting this done sooner, or if this was like Ross Atkins said earlier, well, the value is there. We might have to go over what we value him as.
Well, I think there are a few ways to look at that. First off, this is not happening without full ownership support, right? No executive is committing $500 million to somebody without the ownership really driving the bus on it. And I do think that was key here, that there was ownership involvement to help push it across the finish line. But, you can look at this and say, were the Blue Jays just playing this out, waiting to see is Vlad really going to hold on that line? Is he really committed to that? But I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. understood his situation where, he understood that the Blue Jays to some degree needed him in a way that he didn't necessarily need them. He wanted them, but he didn't necessarily need them quite in the way they needed him. And he could hold true to the number that he felt was important to him, which was that 500 million. So I think if you're a team and you've got the time, you're going to say, well, let's see if the player really hold true, or will he take four? Will he take 425? Will he take 450? And at a certain point, you realize, okay, the player's not budging. Are we doing this? Yes or no? And at that point, the Blue Jays made the decision. Yes, we have to do this, and here we are.
Shy. I mean, he laid it out for him. He laid it out for him perfect. He's like, oh, 500 million, 14. Oh, perfect. That's where they ended up. So there was no, was he going to take 425? But what I want to know is what's the Blue Jay fan reaction to this? Because this is a big deal for the Blue Jay fan. And there's a ton of Blue Jays fans, not only in Toronto, but all of Canada. What's their reaction? Is this a celebration of, hey, we finally locked up our guy that we've been talking about for years now?
Well, I've been on the road in New York over the weekend in Boston, so I've only seen what's on social media and through people in my own personal network. But I got a lot of very excited texts and tweet messages over the past day and a half. And look, I think fans are smart. They understood where the Blue Jays are in this cycle and what's at stake for them this season and where things are at, and that there isn't another Vladimir Guerrero Jr. imminently set to arrive in the farm system. I think if you look back to the Donaldson, Batista, Encarnacion era, towards the latter part of that, the Blue Jays had Guerrero and Bichette coming, and people understood that those two guys were going to be pretty special players. And so there was a future to cast forward to. Whereas now, Namala's emerged a little bit, but there isn't that same future that you can cling to in the farm system and say, okay, we just have to get to these guys. And I think that added to a lot of the anxiety and the angst around this club. I mean, you think about this competitive window that they had, in going into the 21 season, you could have made the case that the Blue Jays were situated about as well as any club in baseball with several top 100 prospects, a good farm system, and a young core ready to take the step to the next level. And then they've got zero playoff wins to show for that. And I think that you factor in where the farm system is, and the fact that the core is expiring. And there's been just a tremendous feeling of this, oh no, what's next? And I don't think I think that's gone to a certain degree. There are obviously a lot of challenges. This Blue Jays team isn't by any stretch of the imagination out of the woods, but you can actually see a pathway to maintaining a competitive window right now, where before this extension, that was very much in question.
What you talked about in 19 was Cavabigio. You had Bo Bichette. You had Vlad all coming up together. Is there a chance that they could get Bo on an extension because he would be coming off his worst year of his career and they could get it on the cheap and they could say, hey, you two could stay together forever. Here's extra money. Then you have some guarantee instead of leaning on this platform year that's his free agent year.
Well, look, this is what I can tell you. When I had a conversation with Bo Bichette last September, he made it pretty clear that he wants to play his entire career with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He wants to win a championship with him, and he wants to do that in Toronto. Well, now half of that is in place. And so that possibility is very much in play. And I think if you're the Blue Jays, you're not just doing this and being like, okay, we'll just figure the rest out. You're going to have to build around him because you don't spend this money if you're not going to leverage it. And so does that mean that the Blue Jays are going to imminently sign Bichette? I don't think that's necessarily the case. There, if I'm in Bo Bichette's camp, I probably want to wait a little bit, let him show not just to the Blue Jays but to the rest of baseball that he is very much the player he's been throughout his entire career, and then proceed from there. But I also think that the number one thing for Bichette would be to see that there is a pathway to being a competitive team moving forward. And again, with Guerrero locked into place, that pathway is there now. So to me, an extension is the main ingredients that you needed to start this extension conversation are now in place. And the Blue Jays have a more realistic chance of doing that right now.
All right, well, then I got to ask, what's their pathway to success? You mentioned their farm system's down. Yes, they have Namala, but with Vlad signed, their pitchers are aging and expiring. George Springer is aging. I know they signed Kirk, but what's their path to success? Do they have to go out and spend money? And the one thing about the Blue Jays you already mentioned is they're going to have to overpay to get people. Yeah, it's nice. Oh, we have Vlad signed up for 14 years. That's attractive. But what's the pathway, and how do they get free agents to come here without overpaying?
Well, look, to some degree, every team has to overpay, right? Unless you're in a very specific case where a player very much wants to go to a specific spot, uh, you have to be high bid, and so it's the degree of overpay. But I think when the Blue Jays, and if you look at this historically, it holds up. When the Blue Jays are a competitive team, they can get guys, and whether you go back to the World Series years, when you go back to the push that they tried to make in the early 2000s or mid 2000s of the first decade, some of the periods that they had during their 15 16 Batista Encarnacion Donaldson era, and more recently with Springer and Gosman and Bassett, Marcus Simeon and others. They can get guys. That's not the problem. I think that they've got a significant amount of money coming off the books this offseason that can be reallocated. They are going to need some of their young players to emerge. And their farm system looks to some degree the way that it does right now because they had 8 pitchers have Tommy John surgery a year ago. But Alek Manoah could be back by later in the summer, and so that gives you, if he's back to who he is, a young piece for the rotation that you can slot back in. Ricky Tiedemann is one of their top pitching prospects. He's going to be coming back from Tommy John, and he can be a factor perhaps as soon as next year. So the situation, while tough, they do need some pieces to fall their way, but it's not necessarily as bleak as it looked a year ago. Jake Bloss, who they picked up in the Yusei Kikuchi deal last year, that could be another piece for them moving forward. Certainly, there's some big upside there after he got to the major leagues very quickly a year ago. So they do have a pathway. They are going to have to spend more. They are going to have to be better in terms of their player development and drafting. They've made some changes on both those ends coming into this year that they are hopeful will help them. And then look, you spend money. You have money. Players are always going to. There are always going to be players that need to take their money, and so make some good decisions, and you can stay right in the mix.
Will this front office see another year? Is this a move that got the job done to secure the elusive 5 more years for the next rebuild of every GM states when they get their job?
I think that's the question on everybody's mind right now. And look, I think one of the things that you have to give this front office credit for is that they've run the business in a way that they've gotten enough confidence from ownership to push their payroll to past the second CBT threshold. And that's a place that, especially with some of the currency challenges that currently exist for the Blue Jays, not a lot of people would have believed that they'd be here even just 3 4 years ago. So that's telling you that they have some degree of trust from ownership. Ultimately, results have to matter, and I think that will be definitely factored into what's ahead. Mark Shapiro is on an expiring contract at the end of the season. Ross Atkins's contract runs through the end of 2026, and this season in a lot of ways could turn into a bit of a referendum on their leadership. And so, getting Guerrero in place should certainly help them. But ultimately, if this season goes awry after 2024 went awry, there are going to be some very significant questions that they're going to have to address in terms of their stewardship.
Sure, I got to ask this just because you're in Canada and you talked about currency. Does the CBT for Toronto, does that in Canadian dollars or is it in American dollars? Because it's a difference. So, if it was
Oh,
one or the
that's a
other, it
big
could make a
difference.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think the commissioner's office wants our monopoly money. They want the stuff that you guys use. So, yeah, look, it's been tough, and the currency has taken a tremendous beating. And as much hedging as you can do in terms of year-long buys and things of that nature, uh, right now you're pushing towards 140, 140 something on each dollar that you're spending. And the amount of collective revenue that comes in that gets distributed to all 30 clubs, that really helps. But something in the neighborhood of 2/3 of the Blue Jays revenues in Canadian dollars, and most of their expenses are in American, and so that takes a big chunk, and to some degree reduces some of their spending power.
Got it. Got it. All right. So then I got to ask this or not did Vlad play them like a fiddle? Because I think he did. I think he crushed us. I think him and his agent crushed us with the way they handled this. Remember, soft deadline. I won't sign after this soft deadline. Whatever he said, it was a hard deadline, right? And then Atkins and Shapiro said, "Oh, he's not worth what we think he's worth." And he's like, "Well, I'm worth at least 500, and I'm worth at least 14 years, and I'll get more than that on the open market." And then, bam, guess where he ended up? 14 years, 500 million. And to me, what Erik asked you with about Shapiro and Atkins is they're on expiring contracts. They had to get this done because they didn't want to be the GM and the president that said, we go to ownership and say, we lost Vlad, but we deserve more time, right? So they had to get this done. I think Vlad played them like a fiddle. And from a PR standpoint, Vlad used the fans. He used his cachet as, a Canadian born baseball player and his dad and everything that he had lined up. He used it all perfectly and got a great deal for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, and I actually think one of the more remarkable pieces of this is that for guys who don't go to the open market, it's hard to really max out. And, maybe Guerrero on the open market does better than five, but he pretty close to maxed out. You get the second biggest contract in net present value in baseball history. And you don't need 29 other clubs to factor in, that's a good piece of work. So I think there's a degree of, yes, Vlad played this well. The circumstances also aligned really well for him to some extent. And then I think the other element is, the Blue Jays, part of this may be the way they approached it too, where they're like, let's test him. You don't know. I mean, how many guys would have the conviction to say turn down 400 million or 425 or 450 and then go into a season and take your chances? I mean, that's you've got to have some pretty big stones to take that on. And I think if you're a team, why not press the player and see if he does actually have that conviction? Is he really willing to risk, 400 for 100 million more? Right. And then the other piece is, I think, look, especially with the fact that they're under expiring contracts, but when you're talking about a deal that's a decade and a half, it's $500 million. Nobody is doing this without ownership driving the bus. Like you have to have ownership 100% behind this. So as much as I to some degree, and I've seen people kind of arguing, oh, this was sort of a desperation move by the front office to try and save jobs. No owner is giving out that kind of contract or allowing that to happen under those circumstances. This is something that would be deeply considered at multiple levels, because even if things go well, the likelihood is that this contract outlives this front office.
Shai, before we let you go, I have to ask, the timing of this was strange to me because, Canada's favorite son, Wayne Gretzky, lost his goal scoring record yesterday. And then the Blue Jays announced this extension right after that. Was that timing on purpose? And how does Canada feel about them no longer having the goal scoring record?
Yeah, I mean, you got to steal Ovechkin's thunder, right? Like, you can't have that moment and take the spotlight. No, there's a lot of excitement around it, because this was one of those records that everybody felt was probably going to stand the test of time, and it didn't really last as long as you might have expected it to. So I think there's a lot of excitement around that. But I think from a timing perspective, all kidding aside, uh, to me, this is definitely something that ideally is done at spring training. And I think you can make the case, look, the Blue Jays, they probably could have gotten this done for less money if they did this in October. And I don't want to be like second guess guy, because I was writing about this back last summer, that when you're thinking about order of operations, trying to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in October, and then going to the free agent market with him in tow and saying, okay, this is what we are, this is what we got going on, this is how we're moving forward, would have been way better than doing it this way, where you're like, hey, come here, come help us try to rebuild after a terrible season. And yeah, we'll figure out Vlad and maybe Bo down the road. So I think from an order of operation standpoint, this could have been done in October. This could have been done before camp or right at the beginning of camp. And you change a lot of conversations, you change a lot of feeling, you change a lot of narrative by doing that. It's important that they've gotten it done now, better now than never, but earlier better than later as well.
Shai, I don't want Blue Jays fans to think that we don't know hockey. Wayne is light years above everybody else on points, but he did give up the goal. I get it, Ovechkin got him on goals, but light years on points, which is goals and assists for everybody who doesn't follow hockey on the FT network here.
Listen,
look at that. Kratzy, you're showing that you definitely made the most of your time up north and that you recognized, right? So good on you there.
Listen, don't let Kratz fool you. I know Wayne, and I talked to Wayne about this a few weeks ago, and I said, Wayne, Ovi's going to get you. And he's like, you know what? I'm happy for him. He's like, I got the points record. I don't think anyone's touching that. But he said, records are made to be broken. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be supportive for him. And you know what? I give Wayne credit. He was there, and he stood up, and he showed up. And good for Wayne, and brought him some attention. And awesome for Ovechkin. I mean, I don't know that good, but he seems like an animal.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. And yeah, you're right. Like Gretzky, the total game and the way that he produced during that era, it was just bananas. Some of those point totals, and even like the single season 92 in one season. I'm not sure anyone's getting near that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the reason that, Ovi's know Wayne is Wayne's friends with AJ. Ovi's not. So he's got work to do. He wants to catch up.
That's true. That's it. That is true.
Shai, this was awesome. I could not agree with you more on the October part too, that they should have gotten that done earlier. But whatever, it's done. Now they move on. Thank you so much for hopping on quick. Great job reporting on the story too. You can follow Shai at Shi Dividi on Twitter. Catch him on Sportsnet. Thank you, Shai.
Good catching up as always, guys. Be well.
Yes, you too. All right, FT fam, we got a lot to cover still, including that Phillies-Dodgers series. Be right back. Oh, we're excited about this one. PXG. If you don't know about it, AJ, tell everyone what to do when they need new clubs and they want to go in for a first-class fitting experience. Of course, that'll get you a discount, which I'll give you in a second.
Go to pxg.com/foul. Get 20% off your order, and they will fit you up right. I swing PXGs. I've swung them for a few years now. They're great. I love the irons. I swing their putter. Here's me just drilling putts, of course, with the new putter. There's Bob, my guy, hooking me up, changing some weights in it to make sure it lines up perfectly. They'll do a first-class fitting. They have all the stats. There's me freaking hitting a big old slice with a new club. It wasn't very good. I'm mad they showed that. But there's all the shafts they have, all the different heads they have. They'll line you up. They'll change the weights. They'll do everything. And I love my PXG irons. I love my PXG putter. I love my wedges. So, yeah, if you need new golf clubs, pxg.com/foul.
Boom. There you go. Yeah. Schedule your fitting today. They're educational. They're fun. Like AJ said, you can even probably talk a little smack. Like, really? This is what you're giving me? No, let's go for that bad boy in the corner. I like that. So for a limited time, save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com, like AJ mentioned, but you give a little /foul at the end, pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details. All right, we're back. First off, do you remember when a rumor was thrown out there that Vladdy Jr. was a lock to Boston? Just like 4 or 5 years ago, Jacob deGrom was a lock to Atlanta. Whenever you try and predict a free agent match 1+ years away, it's almost always wrong.
No, it wasn't. Suzuki wasn't wrong. Everyone said he was going to the Dodgers, and they all nailed that one.
That's true. And that was like 10 years ago. When he was in middle school, they were like, he's signing with LA.
Shohei, they all said was going to the Dodgers. He ended up in the Dodgers. There's some that lined up or Soto, everyone said he was wanting to go to the Mets. He ended up on the Mets. There are some that line up pretty good. I mean, not always accurate, but this one just because they were all like, oh, he's going to Boston because he hates the Yankees. Well, guess where he ended up? In Toronto, who also plays the Yankees in the division.
Agreed. I just thought that was crazy. Sometimes when someone tries to put a player in a space for a particular reason that just does not line up to me, like DeGrom, oh, he wants to pitch in Atlanta. I'm like, he wants to pitch where he's getting the biggest contract. Relax.
Kershaw to Texas. Remember that one?
Oh, yes.
Because he wants to go closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers not going undefeated on the year. Sorry, Dodger fans. You don't even have the best record in baseball anymore. That belongs to the San Francisco Giants. We'll get to them in a moment. But the heavyweight matchup this weekend was the Phillies, who are now 7-2, taking 2 out of 3 against the now 9-2 Dodgers. AJ, you were there. What did you see?
Well, first of all, John Middleton came on the Phillies show and said, we owned the Dodgers last year. If you look at the numbers, I think they took 5 of 6 and outscored them like 37-16 or something crazy. So the Phillies did own the Dodgers last year. They didn't play in the playoffs, obviously, because the Phillies got knocked out by the Mets. But I think the Phillies match up well with the Dodgers because of their starting pitching and because their lineup can match up well with them. Now, the Dodgers threw Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Suzuki. JT threw out 2 guys in the 8th and the 9th to end the game. That one I wasn't so sure about. It looked like he might have touched his jersey, but from this angle, like maybe touched the jersey. I'm not exactly sure if it was him or the wind, but they called him out. But JT, the best throwing catcher in baseball, not even close. Listen, I'll say this. The Friday night game was a great game. The Saturday game was a really good game. The Phillies just couldn't get a hit with runners in scoring position. And Kratz, how about this for your guy, Alec Boehm, that day on Saturday? He had 4 at-bats. He saw 5 pitches, and he made 5 outs. And the Phillies had a 3-pitch inning in the 9th off Tanner Scott with a hit. Figure that one out. I don't know that I've ever seen that before in baseball and Major League Baseball, especially in the 9th inning. But an interesting game. Suzuki made some steps, talked to Dave Roberts for the game. He's like, we just need to see this dude move forward. He threw some splits for strike, especially in the first inning. He gave up 2 singles. Schwarber, Turner was first and third, punched out Harper, and he threw him splits for strikes. And that changed the whole at bat for Harper. He only gave up a run, but then he was able – I mean, I know 4 innings, but listen, the walks were down. The stuff was there. Why this dude doesn't throw a slider, though, I cannot figure out. So I don't know. That was a good step for the Dodgers seeing, but the Dodger bullpen is filthy good. The Phillies are really good, and these two are probably going to be in it at the end. So don't just because the Phillies took 2 out of 3, don't expect anything less because these 2 teams are really good and really confident.
And both teams can't hit starting pitching. It's unbelievable. You're like, what? How is this possible? Like even when the Phillies got to Glasnow, was a lot of walks. You know, it was cold. Blowing on his hand. What I loved about this series, when 2 teams match up like this, sometimes you can look at it and go, well, that would have never happened in the playoffs. They would have never brought so-and-so in the game. They would have never had this guy hitting. Like, these guys were – they put the best out there. Did Wheeler go? No, I get it. But the bullpen guys, they pushed them hard. I know Romano didn't do great, and he's kind of been struggling a little bit. But you sit there and you go, this was back and forth. These were two teams that know how to take advantage of situations. When Pages did what he did in the outfield, the Phillies were able to take advantage of it. And it was back and forth, back and forth. Had they played 10 games, to me, it probably would have been 5-5. It could have easily have been the Dodgers winning 2 and the Phillies winning 1. Like, this is the type of matchup that I'm kind of disappointed. We get it in April. Kind of want to see it in August, so it's like a preview of what these teams are going to be. But man, they're both hitting on all cylinders, and they had some crappy weather to play through too. So credit to the Dodgers for coming out of nice weather to go play in that.
Yeah, they both are pretty close to full strength right now. Obviously, when you meet up at the end of the season, you usually have some players banged up. Ohtani will get to. That's a separate case. Wheeler, by the way, is by far the number 1 starter on the Phillies. He didn't pitch in this series. So to me, that gives even another point to Philly.
But Luzardo was filthy. I mean, you talk to
out 2 hits, 8 Ks.
You talk to the Dodgers about what they saw from him. They're like, wow, that was impressive. It was impressive. Rob Thompson was super pumped about it. And if they can keep him healthy, by the way, I saw him for the first time in person. I had never met him in person. He is jacked, by the way. Like, jacked. Not Scott jacked, but close.
Yeah, he's a weight room guy. Well, we talk about this all the time. There's some pitchers that are like no upper body craziness, and then some are like Chapman. I'm going to do whatever I want to do to be feeling as freaking jacked as possible, and that's going to be my life. Luzardo's more in the Aroldis Chapman camp. I mean, he was a Miami guy for a minute. So, AJ, that's going to bring the best beach bod out of you, too. But anyway, in all seriousness, quote of the series.
I tell you who has the best beach body, Tyler Glasnow. That's what it was.
Surfer bod for Glasnow.
Surfer bod, true.
Yeah.
True.
Did you see the Harper quote before the series started? They're like, oh, what do you think about the Dodgers? Like, at all the players. And he's like, I feel like only losers complain about what they're doing. Such a good quote.
I mean, I tweeted it. I quote tweeted it and got crushed for it.
Why?
I was like,
really?
I don't know. Because I was like, I love this quote. Go out and beat them. Like, I mean, and then people are like, oh, you were on a small market team and never complained. I'm like, actually, we didn't. When I was with the Twins, we were small. And we won in 2005. We were like 13th in payroll. And we beat the Red Sox, we beat the Astros, and we beat the Angels. All were ahead of us in payroll. We never complained. We just went out and kicked their asses. So I love this quote by Harper. Harper's like, you know what? We think we're better than them. We'll go out and prove it. No one complain about it. They still have to go out and beat everybody. And the Phillies beat them 2 out of 3. So tip my cap to the Harper and the Phillies.
And fans, I think, sometimes need to be reminded that players never look at it that way. Or at least not players that majority of players would respect. They don't look at it and go, we're playing the Dodgers. We got no chance. You don't want to play with anybody that says that. You don't even want to look yourself in the mirror and say that. Like, you want to go out. You have an opportunity to beat the other team no matter how much payroll they have. They got to put 9 guys out there. They got to put a pitcher on the mound, and you get an opportunity to beat them every single night. So I loved it that Harper said that. And I think majority of players, I bet 98% of players would agree with him.
Hey, by the way, the Dodgers are going to have to figure out, this pitching injury epidemic that they've been experiencing. I know Snell's had injuries, but he's also been in decent shape the last few years. Already after 2 starts, he hits the shelf, shoulder inflammation. Hey, they're stacked. They've got plenty of depth. But you get that news while we get the news about Ohtani over the weekend, too. I don't know if they said anything to you, AJ, but it sounded like Ken's report over the weekend had to do with them really slow playing things because they're thinking about the playoffs pitching wise for him. He's going to pitch before that if the progression continues, but he had a second session, 26 pitches, mixed in the splitter. Usually from this point to getting back on a big league mound as a starter, it's about 6 weeks. It sounds like it's probably going to be maybe double that to get him back. They're going to really slow play it. What do you think?
Well, I was in the same meeting that Ken was in, so I know exactly what was told to us. And that was exactly what they said. I mean, Ken was standing next to me when Dave Roberts told us his update. And Yeah, they are slow playing it because they don't know how to rehab them. We asked them. I asked Dave Roberts, what do I keep saying? How do you rehab Shohei? Because you can't send him to Oklahoma City and for AAA and say throw 5 innings. He's going to have to do, simulated games, and he's going to have to do this and do that. And then I said to him, Dave, well, what do you do when he actually does get into a game? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, you're going to piggyback him with Snell or Glasnow or Sasaki or Yamamoto? And he's like, I don't know about that either. So there's a lot of questions because nobody's ever done this. But yeah, they are slow playing this. And one thing Dave did say was, yes, we want him ready for October. That's what he wants. That's when he wants to be ready. So they have plenty of time to figure this out. The Snell thing is concerning because, man, he's the last few years he's been pretty healthy. So to see him go down already was interesting to me. And hopefully he gets back sooner rather than later.
I'm with you. All right, that was a fun series. Tight series too. 3-2, 3-1, 8-7. That's good stuff. It was really entertaining. All right, we're swinging back, and we are going over more games that we haven't hit yet. Also, a little news with some injuries that have popped up over the weekend as well. Be right back. FT fam, new sponsor alert here too. Let's talk about Harry's. Kratz, you got any show and tell for us?
Oh, baby. I mean, hang on. Let's do the real show and tell.
Ooh.
I mean, fresh. I don't know if anybody's seen the Harry's blades. If you haven't, and I mean, I got a lot of acreage up here, a lot of square footage. It's hard to zoom in on it here, but there's like a billion blades on here. And normally the ones that I've shaved my head with that have a lot of blades, it catches and it's like, and then you leave it looking like AJ with his new PXG wedge just taking divots out of the ground. This is so smooth.
Jealous.
It's almost like
so jealous. Just so jealous. But continue.
It's so, I don't take out divots, but it's so soft on my head. Oh my gosh. And it contours to my huge wavy dome. It's tremendous.
Yeah, German engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer, and you can't beat the price, okay? So normally their trial set is $13. Right now, you can get it for $3 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive FT link, harrys.com/foul for a $3 trial set. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. We'll talk more about them as the week continues. Let's talk right now about the Atlanta Braves. We'll give them a quick 2 minutes. They
By the
won
way,
their
I
game.
got my Harry stuff too in the mail, and I was home for about 30
road.
minutes, and so I didn't
Right.
bring it. So
Give
I
us
need
the
to use
report later this week, okay?
I will when I get home and actually get more than 40 minutes at home.
That's fair. All right, the Braves finally pick up a dub on Friday, although they lost on Saturday to the Marlins, and then they hit a rainout. So it's still not really a fun first week and change for them, AJ.
No, but they did win. What did I say? What did we do when we were 0-9? We beat the Marlins to get to 1-9. So you never know. But yeah, there's some injuries piling up for them. There's some interesting things happening for them. So I don't know. I mean, all the Braves fans are saying, "Oh, we're going to be the first 0-17 to make the playoffs." Well, long way to go. And with Lopez out, Profar out, there's a long road to hoe. I mean, listen, Schwellenbach looks great. Smith-Schwarber pitched okay, but they need someone else to step up in that rotation, and their bullpen needs to be better also. Their bullpen's been getting whacked around pretty good.
Cal Quantrill shut down the offense on Saturday too, Kratz.
He did. He was mixing and matching. But they got their win, so let's go on to that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Big weekend for the Mets. They swept the Blue Jays. Blue Jays getting the attention top of the show on the Vladdy Jr. deal, but also close games. Mets took them down all weekend long. So from Friday's game, you have Alonso and Soto contributing big time. Of course, both of them were pursued by Toronto in the offseason. Here's Pete going long, reaching for one across the plate, taking it opposite field. And that's one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks in baseball. Pete's got dumb strength, but Gary Cohen, the play-by-play guy for the Mets, who does an awesome job, said even for Pete to hit a home run in that fashion is really not something you ever expect. So then juiced ball madness takes over for the next 24 hours on social media. Do you see anything, AJ?
No, you know how you hit home runs, Kratz? Extension out front. He was fully extended when he met the ball, and it was out front. I know Oppo, it's a long way there in Citi Field, but Pete has hit the home runs Pete's hit this year have been to right center and to center field, right? So he's obviously. And how do you pitch Pete? You got to crowd him, right? You want to let Pete have a big year. Everyone just throw him away and see how many balls. Remember the Devin Williams home run? Where did he hit it? Right field. You're gonna have to crowd Pete. You can't just let him go up there and get extended and use all that polar bear power that he has, right? All that gator power. I mean, while we're talking about it, let's talk about it. But let's not let him use all that gator power out there to right center. You're gonna have to crowd him. And if you don't, the balls aren't juiced any different. I don't believe. I mean, I think it's a funny topic to talk about because the balls have changed here and there year to year, but this year it's too early to tell. But Pete's a strong son of a gun.
I don't see the juiced part of it. And if there's somebody that can do that in that fashion, it's Pete. There's you can go back a couple, 200 episodes ago when Todd was talking about watching some of the stuff that this guy would do just in BP. And when big leaguers are in all of somebody's power, the dude's got elite power. And it was a heater. To me, he kind of did the same thing in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's big down the line. It's not big in the gaps, but it's big down the line. I don't know. I got to see a bigger sample size to say if the balls are juiced or not. Like, I think 2019 when they admitted, you know what, we had a couple batches that we wound a little tighter to see the balls fly out of the yard.
How much?
Hey, ask the Braves if they're juiced.
True.
Ask the Reds. They obviously didn't get the juice.
They didn't get the juice ball in the demo either. They're not using
plenty.
torpedo bats, and they didn't get the juice balls. The Yankees must have both.
Well, they set the record, right? Most home runs to start a season. They broke the 2008 Cardinals, I think it was. We're talking about such a small set of games to start the year. Things get overblown at the start of the season, right? If this stretch happens in mid-June, it's whatever. But, yeah, I mean, some of the nerdy scientist people online were pointing out ball flight and basically saying everything looked pretty normal right now. But my question was, Kratz, how many teammates would bring this up, right? Like on a particular year? Did guys talk about, the baseball this year, man, it feels like it's juiced this year? Or did you get that talk much when you were playing or not really?
Yeah, it was from pitchers. And honestly, you could tell. You can pick up a baseball. We do it millions of times in our career. You can tell when you get a ball that you're like, there's something a little different. And the biggest thing I saw, I mean, this is a drastic difference, is the AAA ball to the big league ball when they combined them and when they put all big league balls in the minor leagues, and I think AA and AAA, I know definitely AAA. That's when people really started to notice the difference in a big league ball and a AAA ball, because you have pitchers who aren't as good and hitters who have as much power, but they're not as good. So when it's contacted, the ball's traveling a ton. So that's the only time you really notice it, but not from park to park or season to season, rarely, unless something big is made like that.
By the way, so we had Matt Strom on last week, right? And he was talking about the torpedo bats and how he doesn't really care, and they should let the pitchers use stuff or whatever. I talked to him about this weekend, and I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Listen, let them do whatever they want. They want to use metal bats, just make it all equal, so us pitchers know how to combat." And I'm like, "Matt, you don't want them to use metal bats, dude. Someone could literally." He goes, "Yeah, the BB core," and I go, "Dude, you don't want a big league hitter using a metal bat. I don't care what kind it is." But it was what he said was true. He just wants everything to be equal. That was more the point. He's like, "I don't care. Just make it equal so as pitchers, we know how to combat it." And that's kind of where I feel. But this is way too early to start talking about juice balls. Like, come on, people.
Yeah. No, Gary said, I wonder if the baseballs are a little more jumpy this year after Pete's home run. So Hannah Keyser wrote about this in her newsletter. We'll bring her on next to go over it. And extension season talk, a lot more to hit with Hannah. Let's bring up that Terry Francona quote as the Reds finally got themselves back on the board, but still do not look good overall to start the year. Offense was super dumb quiet for a few games, and he said we were going to have a human sacrifice, but nobody volunteered. I think he's kidding, Kratz. Not 100%. I think he's kidding.
There's a lot you do to turn the offense around. I get it. And you know what? Hey, that person that would have volunteered would have gone down in history had the Reds turned it around.
He'll do anything. He'll do anything to get a hit. I promise you. There's a lot of things that people do to get a hit that they wouldn't tell their family members about, because you will literally try anything to get hit. So yeah, listen, this was a joke by Tito, but it was a funny one because I laughed when I saw this. I'm like, yeah, good for you, Tito. You understand. He was a hitter. He gets it.
They're definitely missing an aircraft carrier.
I thought that was supposed to be Ellie.
It can't just be Ellie. Can't just be Ellie. Missing another aircraft carrier.
No. Yes. That's not what you said.
It's not a one-man show. It's not a one-man show.
That's what an aircraft carrier is. They carry all of the planes.
How many teams get away with one aircraft carrier besides, I guess, Judge and the Yankees this year?
And last year and the year before. Well, not last year.
Last year? Oh, my God. They had two heavy carriers right next to each other. I'm just saying, I think they're missing one more star bat in there. I do.
Matt McClain will be that. He's coming off a whole season that he missed from shoulder surgery. He'll be there.
So you're not worried about the Reds?
They have the guys. I'm not worried about the Reds.
AJ? Not worried? I'm worried
about the Reds. I'm kind of worried about the Reds because they don't have a long history. They're not the Braves of having a history of being able to hit. These are a bunch of younger dudes that haven't done it, and they have a bunch of younger pitchers that have a history of being injured. So am I worried about the Reds? Yeah, because they go, what, how many innings? 35 innings without scoring or some crazy number? Yeah, that's a lot of innings without scoring.
A lot of shutout baseball. Encarnacion Strand hit a freaking BB to center field this weekend, 450-something feet. But, I mean, you guys were the ones that pointed this out. Ellie has a lot of swing and miss. Encarnacion Strand, others. Is there going to be too much swing and miss in this lineup?
Whoa. I'm just saying this. There is. That's one thing we worry about. But you can't go Ellie, Mr. Ellie, I love Ellie, and then not be Mr. I love Ellie.
It takes 9 hitters in a lineup.
It's not Ellie's fault, guys.
Here we go. Hannah Keyser joining us, our good friend. And everyone check out her newsletter, brand new, with her buddy Zach Kreiser. They worked together back in the day, not that long ago, but they do a great job together. They're an awesome duo. So it's called The Bandwagon. Please check it out. Look it up. Go to Hannah's Twitter right now and sign up, please. Anyway, Hannah, good to see you. And we were just continuing our conversation earlier about Juice Baseballs. You covered that a little bit in one of the recent newsletters. Can you give us a little insight?
Yeah, you guys were referencing that Pete Alonso home run in the first inning of the home opener, right? That's what. Okay, I was there. I was watching the game. I had the headphones in to be listening to the broadcast. This is. I don't want to be slandering Mets broadcast. Best broadcast in baseball, absolutely. And I love that they tell it like it is and that they are authentic and they're not super homers in that way. But pretty quickly they were like, oh, that's like interesting that ball got out. Maybe the balls are a little extra juicy, a little jumpy this year. And so I just plugged into the StatCast search balls specifically in March and April because I know that the weather changes things. But March and April 2022 to 2024, looking at balls that had similar exit velocities and launch angles to the one that Pete Alonso hit that went out of the park. And on average, those balls were traveling, I think it was like 7 feet further than Pete Alonso's ball did. So I think it's just that they got fooled by how strong Pete is. Sometimes he takes what looks like not a full swing and a ball goes out of the park. They are not extra jumpy. I have had that thought watching some swings this year. Maybe it is just the bats. I don't think he was using a torpedo bat, but no, there is no evidence. I mean, based on this very sort of cursory search, just looking at if you put that kind of exit velo and launch angle into a ball, what does it do? It's, if anything, traveling less far this year.
Wow. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Love it. But maybe it was just piss poor pitching. I don't know. Oh, wait, sorry. Were you allowed to say that, Keith? I'm just asking. But what I want to know is the torpedo bats and this and that. And I was just in Philly for the Dodgers and Phillies, and I talked to somebody, and I think it was, I don't know who it was, one of the players, and they said, "Oh, so and so hit a ball 112 with 27% launch angle, and it didn't go out of the park, and the wind was blowing in, and it was cold." So is it just April and people are overreacting, and we haven't got a lot of games yet? So let's everybody just take a deep breath, go Gucci, and calm down.
Yes, it is. That's exactly the other thing that I noticed, putting those sort of same parameters in, just looking at, I think it returned like 95-ish hits, like close to 100 balls that had similar launch angles, similar exit velocity over those 3 seasons. And you don't always get the same result, is what it turns out. You're sort of just as likely to get a home run as you are to get a long fly out. That's what's fun about baseball. It's played in different conditions. It's played in different ballparks. It's like, as much as we can quantify things, we can't always quantify what exactly is a home run swing or a home run hit. So yeah, it's April, it's early. We have a relatively small sample size. That's the other thing. In baseball, you accumulate a lot of games, a lot of at-bats, a lot of balls in play pretty quickly, but it's still relatively small compared to the size of sample sizes that we're used to dealing with when we're talking about, well, what are the balls doing year to year?
Can you tell us what you wrote about the extensions? Because maybe it's a little bit of an overreaction, like, whoa, this is the most extensions ever. And reality is, we just look back a little bit, and there's been quite a few extensions in a recent year.
Okay, I'm stealing. This was my collaborator, Zach Kreiser, writing about this, but he was looking at, it felt like we were getting so many post-opening day extensions. Oh, this must be unusual. But it's really not if you kind of lump them in with the end of spring training extensions. I think what happened, and guys, I've seen anonymous executive quotes to this effect, these were all deals that were pretty close, I'm sure, before opening day, and it just felt like, well, why cut the momentum off here? I was surprised though about the Vlad one. I'm sure you guys talked about this already today. Who's surprised? Can I get a quick round of you all? Who's surprised? Who's not surprised that this got done and got done for $500 million?
I'm not surprised. I said it. I said he played him like a fiddle. He played him perfectly. He told them exactly what they wanted, and they had to do it. So he crushed it. I don't care what anyone else says.
Not surprised.
Scott?
Not surprised.
Really? I'm surprised.
Why?
Okay. I'm kind of surprised at it. I'm surprised at it if I look at it from either side individually, less surprised when I look at it in conjunction. If I'm the Blue Jays, I don't know why I want to give this extension to someone who's willing to take this extension so close to free agency. I'm like, that seems to indicate to me that he thinks, I don't know that I can get $500 million on the open market, because he was so committed to getting this. Like, if you're Vlad, you're so close. Why not one more great year? You've had kind of up and down year to year, not necessarily showing that you can do it year over year. If you're confident you can do it year over year, show that you can have a 2024 season again and see what that lands you on the open market. Obviously, he doesn't think he's necessarily going to be $500 million, or else he would have done that. And so if I'm the Blue Jays, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe you're not as confident as you thought you were if you're willing to take the money so close to free agency.
Quick reply here. So for me, Hannah, I'm not surprised because of what the number got to, right? He made it pretty clear, even publicly, 500 gets it done. And the Blue Jays were like, well, we already are going past our value. And he's like, cool, 500 gets it done. Didn't budge, right? Blue Jays are thinking, oh, maybe they'll meet in the middle. No, Vlad's like, $500 million. I want a $500 million net present value contract. I'm like, how much better could he have done in free agency? Was he going to get to the sixes? I don't know. I mean, how do we compare him to Soto? Plus Soto's age was still a year younger. So that's another, 40, 50 mil at least. I just felt like he set his number and he made the Blue Jays catch all the way up to it. And they were playing games with him for the last 3-4 years, right? They could have signed him in 2021 for in the 300 something range, like low 300s, in the similar realm of Tatis. And they decided to always kind of go undervalue compared to what else was being thrown out there. So I felt like he just laid it out clear and simple. You call me anytime if you have 500, this gets done. That was why I wasn't surprised. I would have been surprised if he gave in and said, all right, let's do this at 465.
I was thinking about this. I wonder whether early extensions beget more desperation in other teams. I'm thinking specifically about the Blue Jays, a team that has struggled to get it done in free agency. They're seeing other teams lock up their best position players early. That's pulling from the pool of future position players available in free agency. And the Blue Jays already know they don't have great numbers, great batting average on the free agent market. And so maybe they're getting concerned. Well, there just aren't that many free agents to go around. The more guys who sign these early career extensions. Now, what's interesting to me, I know it's going to constantly get comped to Soto and Shohei Ohtani's deal because it's up in that echelon in terms of raw dollars. Both of those guys, it felt like a big factor of their free agency was discerning the team's competitive future. They were looking for teams that they felt were going to continue to spend and build around them. And I don't know that I feel great about the Blue Jays' ability to do that, but maybe that's sort of why they went to that $500 million mark. So it is kind of, I see what you're saying, that like the specifics of the situation, it's like it could only get done for $500 million, and the Blue Jays were only going to give $500 million because they know that they struggled in free agency, and maybe because they struggled in free agency is why it's surprising to me that Vlad would want to commit to spending his whole career there. But if they didn't have that desperation factor, they're probably not giving him that money. So I see what you're saying, but it still just feels like, wow, so you don't want to hear what the Mets or someone is going to offer you, a team that's shown they're willing to not just spend in this one area, and a team that's, I don't know, I don't feel good about the Blue Jays' chances this year. They have the oldest pitching staff by age, and yeah, I don't know that I want to spend the rest of my career in Toronto. Although I love Toronto as a city.
No,
Yay, universal healthcare.
Too late, Hannah. You're going to get destroyed on Twitter now for saying you hate Canada. Yeah. So good luck. You're going to hate your life for the rest of your life because now you just said you hate Canada. But
don't put that out.
Some people. But here's what you have to understand. No, that's what I heard. That's what Twitter is going to hear. So I'm just saying. But when we clip this, it's all they're going to hear is Hannah Keyser hates.
We
Canada.
will not do that. I will tell the clip team we will not do that.
But some people just like where they're at, and I don't know that. Listen, I know he said I'll get $500 million on the open market, but first basemen don't get paid like other positions do. That's why, again, I think he played this perfectly. He got the team he grew up with, the team he knows, where he was born. I know people think of him as Dominican, but he was born in Canada. Canada loves him. And therefore, the marketing and everything with him was perfect. I think he nailed this. I can't. You're saying, well, why would he want to do this? Are you kidding me? 14 years, $500 million. You don't have to move. You know exactly where you're at. I mean, we can argue. I know you hate Canada. I love Canada. So people on Twitter, I love Canada. I'm just saying, I love Canada. I love Gretzky. He's still the gold king. Okay, but Hannah, I'm just saying, some people really like where they're at.
I do actually. Okay, so yes, I want to say that I think it would be bad if everyone did the Juan Soto, let me hit free agency, go to both the highest dollar offer and also kind of demand they prove they're going to continue to spend around me, because that limits, then we do get into a kind of competitive balance issue where there's only so many teams that can do that. I like this from sort of a big picture baseball narrative standpoint. I love guys spending their whole career on one team. And if you can get $500 million and spend your whole career on one team, that's beautiful. I'm just saying, if I'm either side, I'm a little suspicious that the one side
wants to do it. How'd that work out for Carlos Correa? He went to the Twins and they said, we're going to spend all this money. We'll sign you. And then they haven't spent money in 2 years. So how'd that work out?
Yeah, that's fair. And we don't talk about Carlos Correa that much anymore.
There you go.
All right, let's get into the rest of the extensions here. So you did some homework on the prior years. Yeah, let's keep rolling on that. So what did you find?
Okay, this is what Zach found. So now I got to pull up. You guys, I didn't know you wanted to. Did you want me to talk about that? Can we talk about how I don't think that Christian Campbell should have taken that extension?
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, tell us.
Sure, we can. It's your show, Hannah.
That's true. I'm used to hosting. God, it's surprising getting to talk to you. Usually I'm like, here's what we're talking about. No, we're talking about the Christian Campbell extension now and how you can make a lot of money in arbitration. You don't need to sign away your arbitration years quite so early. I know that we talk about how arb is not the free market, but you can make a lot of money in arbitration if you're a good player. That's another one that surprised me. Maybe I'm out of touch. I feel like all of these kind of caught me off guard in terms of either being so early or so late. Not all of them, but those two did.
When you talk about Christian Campbell's extension that he signed, do you think it's more a indication of what Major League Baseball thinks of $60 million, specifically the Red Sox, but what other teams? Or do you think it's an indication that, you know what, baseball is uncertain, I'm a young kid, it's hard to pass up $60 million?
I think it's the latter. I think it is. I mean, it's similar to, I think we're going to maybe talk about Ron Blum at some point, but he said that feels sort of like a Braves extension to me, in that a team was, we talk about like playing it well, and look, Vlad Guerrero's agents played it very well. I thought the Red Sox played that well. They clearly knew their guy. They knew sort of what motivated him and when was the right time to strike. That feels like a very savvy for the team extension, in that 60 million is a lot. I think 60 million is not a lot of money in baseball terms. I think it's a lot of money in, you're a young guy, you just made the majors, you're very excited about the direction your career is going in this particular moment. So I think that's a savvy team extension in terms of sort of when they struck. But I think why before you've even like he got a pre-debut style extension, even though he had already debuted, and his debut is going great. Give it another few months, see how it does. Maybe you can get a little more money in 6 months, 3 months even. I think they paid him like he hadn't even debuted, and I know it's a small sample size, but he's looking really good at the major league level already.
Okay, Hannah, if your significant other came home from
Mm-hmm.
work, said, Hannah, I got this new job, and they're going to pay me $60 million. But I think if I wait 5 years, I might be able to make $80 million. What are you telling them? And also, this is when you were 20, what is he, 22 years old?
22.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you're making me out to be like I'm a hater, and I'm
well, you said it was a bad deal. So I'm just asking you the question.
I wish that my significant other was good enough at baseball that I said, babe, you don't need that 60 mil. You're so good. You'll get that 80.
Right? But you would have told him to take the 60, wouldn't you? What do you think?
I would.
What do you think Christian Campbell's agent, family, everyone was telling him? You're going to get $60 million to play baseball? You better sign up. Trust me, if someone had come to me when I was a rookie before I signed and said, I'll give you $60 million, I would have been like, I'll sign it in blood. I'll sign it in whatever you want me to sign with. Just I'll sign it.
You're like, I'll be that human sacrifice for 60 million.
Absolutely. I'm like, Tito, you need me for 60 million? I'm in.
Yeah. But that's because we don't have Christian Campbell talent, and neither does he's
Hey.
right there. This is he can only hear half the conversation, my significant.
He's not as good as Christian Campbell either, so there's that. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. He didn't hear that part of it. Take us to the Ron Blum interview that you had. This was intriguing to me. Back in 1988, is that right?
Yeah.
He brought the first tracking system?
He sold to Major League Baseball the first ever pitch tracking system. Ron Blum, I don't know how much you guys have or have not encountered him around the game. He's the Associated Press lead baseball writer, reporter. He is such a character. He is the person who cares about the specific payout schedule of the deferrals, of the escalators. He cares about how much guys are making down to the dollar, down to the penny. When the AP reports the salaries for every single player, like 950 players or something like that this year, they report it down to the dollar. And I wanted to talk to him about sort of the history of reporting on salaries, because we didn't always have that level of granular detail on how much guys made, but then also about why that level of granular detail matters. And I thought it was really interesting and really compelling. And he's such a specific guy. He's so much fun to be in a press conference with, because he's the guy asking Andrew Friedman, Dodgers president of baseball operations, in the middle of the World Series, like, do I have my calculations on how much international bonus pool space you have left correct? And it's funny because people screenshotted that exchange during the World Series. They tweeted it out. They said, this is crazy. Look at this reporter who it's whatever game one of the World Series, and he's asking the Dodgers president of baseball operations about their international cap space. And that turned out to matter, of course, because he was thinking ahead. Ron was thinking Roki Sasaki, what's going to happen this offseason. And I just think I love the way that Ron thinks about how the very, very granular specifics of the economics of the game are so predictive in terms of team behavior, player behavior, league behavior, that kind of stuff. He's reading the tea leaves of the contracts that are given out, of the deferral schedules that teams are agreeing to, and what that says about the direction of the team or the league as a whole. So yeah, it's a really, really, I think he's like such a fascinating person to talk to, because he's lived through so much and covered so much, and sees the trends and sees the cycles and sees kind of where we're headed based on where we are.
And he sold his proprietary info back in the day to cover his college bills, right?
Yes, exactly. After he went to Columbia, he was there with Gary Cohen, and they did some broadcasting together. And then he was working for, I don't remember the name, it was like Sports Database or something. And this level of granular detail, he was applying it to pitch information. He built a system to track every pitch. When we talk about, this is what made him think of it, the Yankees hitting 3 home runs on the first 3 pitches of the game. That feels like the kind of information we've always had, but we haven't always been keeping track of like what's happening in a game, not just in the box score, but on a pitch by pitch level. And yeah, he was like, that era goes back to 1988, because that's when I sold that system that was tracking what's happening every pitch of the game to Major League Baseball itself. And the financial tracking stuff, he's so detailed with it that originally MLB, it isn't so much I asked him, I thought that he had sold, I had gotten my details confused. I thought he sold them some sort of financial tracking system, and it wasn't that. But he was, in the early days, having conversations with people at the league about sort of what is he calculating, because he was keeping track of teams' actual payrolls, again, sort of down to the dollar. And before we had, there was a time before even Major League Baseball had computers doing these things. They also were just, longhand writing out, well, the first baseman's making this much and how the second baseman's making this much, and tallying it all. And they used to sometimes check with him to check their math, just because they were like, we're all just having to add it up here. So let's see what Ron got.
All right. Well,
not much has changed. Not much has changed. It feels like at times. It feels like this kind of the same times. Same thing with Major League Baseball at times.
Hannah, well, thank you for the time. Great catching up. Thanks for stopping by. And on your way out, want to tell everyone how they can get a hold of the bandwagon?
Yes. Go to bandwagon.substack.com. Subscribe there. If you Google it, you'll find it. It's on my Twitter. It's on my Blue Sky. It's on my Instagram. It's on Zach Kreiser's Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that. We're 3 times a week. This is a lot of content. And we're both writing most days, and we're sharing fun links from around baseball, plus more substantive, like research, analysis, reporting. It's fun. Check it out.
It's good stuff. Yeah, everyone check it out. Hannah, we'll have you back soon. Thank you so much for non-hosting and joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
AJ, you didn't
Hannah
text me
Keyser
back. AJ owes me a text.
AJ.
I do. I didn't want her to bring it up, but now she had to.
Nice.
All right, let's hit a little up for homage right now. Kratz, take it away. What do you have for us today?
I mean, is there anything better? Is there anything better? Road to the show.
I need to see might be the bottom. You need to give me a big chest puff. There you go.
Bang-a-rang. Road to the show. And when you let go of the shirt, it just hangs off. Like they got a great material. And this, I always mention this. I don't know why I like it. The homage patch there, the raised patch. And this is just one of the nostalgic shirts. They got some good movie shirts. Scotty, you love the Grateful Dead shirts.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the throwback logos, which I'm saying you got to at least check it out and use our foul territory code too. Get you 20% off of your old school logos.
HOMAGE.com/foul territory. Yeah, I just purchased a few shirts a few days ago, so they should be here later this week, and I'll start unveiling some more. We'll do some more modeling for everyone. But yes, the code is foul territory. Just our show code. The starter jackets are fire too. We'll talk about those at some point later this week as well. 20% off if you're a first-time homage shopper. Legends never die. legendary walk-offs this weekend. We had 5 on Sunday. Is that right? 5 walk-offs on Sunday? Yes. Do you want to get in your Gator talk too here?
No, we'll get
4?
it in slap hands. We'll get it in slap hands.
Kratz, 4 walk-offs on Sunday?
5. My thumb was
Yeah,
outside
5.
of the screen.
Oh, gotcha. Your thumb's too big. 5 walk-off wins, the most across MLB on a single day since 5 were pulled off on July 8th of 2022. That's fun for the first weekend of the season. Well, technically the second.
Great.
But
Great. The Giants one was delayed. It was like, oh, okay, well, they're probably going to come back. And then Victor Robles injury, I hope his shoulder's fine, but that looked bad. That looked bad. And they called him out of play because he had hit the net completely and fell and bounced back, and you can't use the net to stay in play. I didn't know that. But one pitch, whoop, right to right field. Wilmer Flores was part of those 5, and I think now he's tied with Bryce Harper for the most walk-offs of any active player in baseball. I think it's 13, which is crazy. Wilmer Flores, I would not have picked him to be tied with Bryce Harper.
Now pitchers have to know. Be careful pitching to Wilmer Flores in late clutch situations.
Sheesh.
Hey, here we go. Kelsey Wingert-Linch joining us right now. Kelsey, good to see you. It's been a minute. Kelsey covers the Rockies TV, field reporter, the whole deal. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just flew in from Denver. There are awful storms in Atlanta, so I had a red eye last night that got moved to 425, and so I've made it. I'm good.
Good. Well, we're glad you made it so that you could join us too, because this is the time, right, for the Rockies and their fans to watch young players emerging here. They need something to hope for. Chase Dollander just made his debut this weekend. Zach Veen gets called up now. So can you give us the goods on what to expect here?
Yeah, I mean, these are 2 guys, when you're looking at spring training, people were thinking that they were probably going to break the opening day roster. Chase Dollander, not as much as a surprise as somebody who's only made 24 starts in the minor leagues. He only has 1 start in AAA, which came this season. But Zach Veen had such a good spring. He actually won the team's MVP award they give out every year, the Abby Greer Award. But these are 2 young talent guys. Veen obviously drafted out of high school in 2020. Dollander drafted in 2023 out of Tennessee. But these are some of the names, along with the Brenton Doyles, the Ezekiel Tovars, who have already solidified themselves. I mean, if you're watching the show, you probably should know who Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar is. But these are 2 of the other names now that we've been hearing for a long time that we're finally getting to see. And 2 names that can really excite this fan base. People who are diehard Rockies fans know these names and have been waiting for them to get here. So it was exciting to see Dollander do what he did last night. And then Zach Veen, I mean, what he's done in AAA this season. But Bud Black said if he forces his way on the roster, he forces his way on the roster. And that's exactly what he did.
Kelsey, a couple things. First of all, man, I feel old because I was there when you started with the Braves.
I
So,
know,
gosh.
I know,
Now that you've already switched teams, gosh, dog, I feel old. But it's amazing what a career you've had for yourself. So I'm very happy for you. And I love your Dale Murphy jersey behind you because I have the same one. I wore it actually the other day, not long ago. Yep, I have one similar. But I'm a little bit mad you don't have my batting gloves up there. I figured you could have got a pair. I ripped so many. I figured you would have figured out
what?
To get a pair.
I have a pair of Tyler Flowers, so I'm kind of surprised I don't have a pair of yours.
Yeah, me too. I'm disappointed in you. But I mean, I can send you a pair. They're Atlanta.
Please do.
You have all of AJ's bats.
I'd love to put them up.
You have all of AJ's bats behind you.
A lot of broken
yes,
ones.
those are all the ones, yes.
Those are all the broken ones. No torpedoes in there. But no, I want to know, Kelsey,
Not yet.
is this the way that can do something for the Rockies and make them competitive again? At Dollander and Veen and these guys, are these the ones that can make them competitive again? Because it seems like a long time, and they're in a really tough division. And I know we ask questions all the time, what are they doing? But is this the next wave with Tovar and Doyle and then Dollander that can make them competitive in a tough division?
So my initial reaction is saying the next big step is them getting that starting pitching down. This season, we are seeing Herman Marquez back healthy, Antonio Senzatella back healthy. Kyle Freeland has obviously been in that rotation for a while. You have an Austin Gomber who's currently on the IL. But they've been drafting really heavy pitching drafts because they know that that's how you acquire pitching in Colorado, right? You have to draft well. So they've drafted a ton of really talented pitchers. So Chase Dollander, you have guys like Carson Palmquist, who we could possibly see this season. You really want to see some guys come up and solidify some young talent in that rotation, some guys who could be a top of the end rotation. But at the same time, when I think that the offense had also been struggling this season, that Bud Black has been saying for the past couple of years, he knows that there's more power in this lineup. Obviously, we haven't necessarily seen that from Chris Bryant, which was a big reason why he was added to this lineup for the offense that he could provide. And they're starting to get it in areas that you might not expect. People like Hunter Goodman, where if you're a Rockies fan, you know that there's talent there. But if you don't really follow the Rockies, you might not be familiar with his name. But Brenton Doyle, what he was able to do last season, Michael Toglia with 25 home runs. So I think right now they're trying to, obviously, as any team, become more well-rounded. But to me, I think the next biggest step is, just because of how difficult it is to pitch in cores, is solidifying some high-end talent in that rotation. And hopefully that's starting with these guys that we're going to probably see up this year, even after Dollander.
But are they doing anything different? Because if you take the best pitchers, like if you take the 5 best pitchers in the game and put them in Colorado, there's going to be some drop-off. Are the Rockies looking to change almost their like pitching identity as compared to the rest of the league, where they can have pitchers that do X and Y when they're in Colorado and X and T when they're on the road? Like, is there any kind of shift? Because if without that shift, I feel like we're kind of just constantly hitting the same wall.
I think that's hard for me to answer. I think probably what you guys can obviously see is a lot of times you don't see a lot of strikeouts in Colorado. There's more pitchers who are going to induce a lot of ground balls. There's incredible defense. Really, everybody in the infield, Brian McMahon, Michael Toglia, Ezekiel Tovar, the second baseman's kind of up in the air right now with Estrada hurt. But we have a Gold Glove caliber defense in that infield. So you see them get and try to draft pitchers who can induce a lot of ground balls and really make that defense work. But as of recently, there's been a little bit more emphasis on maybe trying to get those strikeouts out, because if you put the ball in play, there's always a chance for it to go out of the ballpark in Colorado, or a chance for there to be an error, obviously. So I think they are kind of looking maybe for a little bit more of strikeouts, whereas in the past that hasn't been as much of an emphasis. But Bud Black says all the time, and, Buddy, obviously a former starting pitcher, just says, hey, if you have a good breaking ball, it's going to break in Colorado. I can't speak to that. I know how difficult it is to pitch in Colorado. I mean, you guys probably, AJ, Erik, could speak to it more from the catching side of the difference that you truly do see when you're pitching at altitude compared to pitching at sea level, especially with any breaking ball. But I think that's a tough question for me to answer on. Is there a shift in the philosophy? The only thing I've noticed is a little bit more of an emphasis on getting those strikeouts instead of constantly emphasizing get ground ball outs.
What would be this team's identity as a whole? What would be their identity in the sense of, like, do they see themselves as an underdog? Do they see themselves as this elite defense when the Giants are also building an elite defense in their own division? What is their identity that you feel like when you walk into that clubhouse, or that you hear all the time?
I think they see themselves as a very sound, defensively talented team. I mean, you have Brenton Doyle, who's now won back-to-back Gold Gloves in center field. This is bias coming from somebody who watches him every day, but if you're not putting Brenton Doyle in top 2 or 3 center fielders in MLB, I challenge you to watch a few more Rockies games and just truly look at the talent that he has. Ezekiel Tovar with the Gold Glove last year. This is a team that really prides themselves on defense. We just turned a triple play. What was that? 2 days ago, only the fifth in franchise history. But outside of them being very prideful of their defense. I think it's a lot of young guys. There are some veterans in the mix, especially this season with some of the guys that they picked up, like Kyle Farmer, Nick Martini. But you have those younger guys who kind of kicked the door open these past 2 years, showing people that they can play in the big leagues, they can contribute in the big leagues. But then last year, you really had some breakout seasons where it's not just in the Denver area where you're going to know those names, Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, Michael Toglia. Those guys really started to plant some roots where around baseball, you're going to get familiar with those names. So I think it's young guys who are out to prove that not only they belong, but they can continue to replicate the season that we saw last year.
Kelsey, I always say this about the Rockies. They got to try something crazy, right? They need to go back to the 95 Blake Street Bombers and just try to outslug everybody. You know, they've tried this ground ball trick forever. It hasn't worked. They've tried, but when are they going to, I don't know, Joe Madden-ish, go and do something crazy that baseball has to kind of stop and say, wow, why are they doing this in Colorado, and try to win every game at home. 81 games. Yeah, you'll win some games on the road, but just do what they did in try. It just seems like, I don't know. And I know you work for the team, so it's hard for you to say, but it just to me is like, gosh, I want to see them just do something crazy, because what they've been doing for the last 25 years, 30 years just hasn't gone anywhere. So what can they do? I don't know. It's me as a fan, because I want every team to try and be good. And the fan base they have is so supportive of the ballpark and the area and just awesome fans that it's like, man, they deserve something different. And it took what was it, 2007, a miraculous 20-game winning streak to get them to the World Series that year. But other than that, it's just been a franchise that just seems to run and play. So I don't know. Just my opinion. You don't have to answer really anything off of it, other than it's frustrating for me as a baseball fan, because I just wish they would try something different.
I mean, you bring up the Blake Street Bombers, and when I tell you Bud Black for the last 3 years has consistently been saying, we know we have more pop in this lineup. We know we have more home runs in this lineup. We know we have more power in this lineup. It's going to come. It's going to come. It's going to come. And we just haven't seen that. I do think I alluded to this earlier, when they signed Chris Bryant, there were expectations of that. And we really haven't seen Chris Bryant. He's been battling a ton of injuries since he signed that contract, and he's healthy now. And he did get 2 hits last night. But, I think there really has been an emphasis on trying to get that power back. And it just hasn't played out, which is frustrating. It's frustrating for fans. It's frustrating for the players. It's frustrating for the coaching staff, because this is a ballpark where you do have the advantage of altitude and the ball does fly, and you really want to capitalize on that. And it just seems like they haven't been able to in years past, but I think that they are hoping with these young guys. I mean, I know I've said this name 15 times since I came on here, but Ezekiel Tovar's going to hit around 260, 270 and give you 20 to 25 home runs a year. Brenton Doyle hit over 25 home runs last year. Michael Toglia could hit 30 home runs. Hunter Goodman could be a 20 to 25 home run guy. It's just, is it going to happen? And we got glimpses of that from those guys last year, and that it's in there. Can they all put it together consistently? I think the Rockies feel that they have some of this young talent and these pieces in place who have the capability to maybe not be the Blake Street Bombers. How can you even duplicate that? But I think that they believe they do have some pieces who can contribute to that, because that power angle that you're talking about has been a really big conversation point, at least to the media, from Buddy when he discusses what he believes the team needs to really improve on. So I agree with you. And it is frustrating for everybody. And I think that they're just hoping that as these guys mature and get more at bats and consistent playing time, that they can start churning that out more consistently to the level that they've been hoping these guys can.
What's the Chris Bryant vibe like with fans, with his teammates, with him, and even with the connection with the media? Because it hasn't gone as well as everybody thought it was going to when he got here. What's that vibe like? Well,
I'm also curious to kind of get y'all's opinion on this. On the home opener on Friday, the boos for Kris Bryant were hard to ignore. That's been something that we've seen a lot as of late. And kind of to what AJ was saying, I think everybody can see the frustration and feel the frustration and understand the frustration. But I've always struggled with fans booing their home players. I mean, I don't think it accomplishes much. It's kind of like the complete opposite of what happened for Trey Turner with the standing ovation. But yeah, I mean, the home opener was tough. The fan reaction to Kris you can't ignore the boos in the stadium. But I will tell you personally, you can tell that Kris is super frustrated. You can tell that he's frustrated with these injuries. It just seems, I mean, I know I walked past him in the clubhouse one day and he had hurt his back and he was like, it's just one thing after another. He's dealt with injuries constantly since he's gotten here. He has been very kind to the media and I really didn't know what to expect from him. And he wants to talk about life. Like he wants to know how you are. And he's genuine in that way. And with fans, he's the one player every single game he's in that lineup. He signs every single autograph of every single fan waiting until they're all gone. So he's been good with that. But yeah, I mean, you can sense the frustration from Kris. You can sense the frustration from the fan base. He's still a leader in that clubhouse. He's still the one kind of organizing like show dinners, getting the team together. He still is a veteran presence and somebody who is very respected in that clubhouse. I just think he and the fan base and the coaching staff and ownership and everybody just wants to see a healthy season of Kris Bryant to see what he can do. And they just haven't been able to get that yet. And it's been very frustrating for everybody. But what do you all think about home fans booing players?
I don't know. I think what I always said about booing is if they're booing you, you're already booing yourself. Nobody's ever been booed that you're like, dude, I'm killing it this year. So he knows it. In my opinion, it doesn't help players. AJ fed off of it when away fans would boo him. I was never good enough to be booed by away fans, so there's that.
Listen, as somebody that was booed, I didn't like being booed at home. It only happened really in San Francisco when I was there. So, and it was fine. I mean, you try to ignore it, but you can't. And I was only there 1 year. So for someone like Kris that has to go through this for years, it stinks. I mean, but I listen, I don't agree with it, but I understand why fans are doing it. They're frustrated, like you said, Kelsey. They want him to be on the field, and they, when you sign a big deal the way Kris Bryant signed the deal that he signed, they want to see you play and they want to see out there. And I know it's not his fault, but that's what I think it's more of a frustration thing than it is an actual personal thing. It's just like, we're frustrated. We want Kris Bryant out there, as we all do, as baseball fans want Kris Bryant out there. I want to see the good 2015, 2016 Kris Bryant because he's a hell of a player. He brings people to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fans will come out. Fans come out to Colorado. There's no doubt.
For sure. Every year. I mean, it doesn't matter the record. They're top 10 in attendance every year. It's always a great crowd. It's always a great environment. So yeah, the boos seem to be louder because of that. But yeah, it's still a great environment, and yeah, just frustrating. But he's healthy right now, and that's the hope, is that he can stay healthy, because they just want to see what a healthy Kris Bryant not only can do, but how that impacts the entire lineup. Because they do have him hitting in the middle of the order still. When he's in the lineup, he's in the 5-hole. Some days he's cleaning up. So I mean, a threatening Kris Bryant could help everybody, obviously.
They could get him to 4th place, Kelsey.
AJ.
Tough division. Tough division, AJ. And that's
I know. Listen,
Kelsey,
I know. Oof.
Kelsey, I got to take you to your tweet that made me laugh. Chase Dollander found out about his call-up how?
Yes. How? Oh, my gosh. So we all saw you saw the video on social media of them calling him into the office. He's going over charts, and the video almost was anticlimactic. So when we were interviewing him, whenever he got to the ballpark, I was like, okay, we all saw the video, but like, when did you realize that something was actually going on? And he started chuckling. He was like, yeah, it's actually a funny story. He was like, I was on my phone and I get a text from a Denver hotel saying, we're looking forward to welcoming you to your stay here at whatever hotel in Denver. And then he got called into the office within like 20, 30 minutes. So he went in there, and if you watch the video, the phone is like right in front, like very close to him. And he was like, I go in there and I had just gotten that text message. And then I see the phone sitting like 2 feet in front of me, just like facing me, recording me. So he kind of looked at his coach and was like, is this happening right now? And then he said they played it off well and went over the charts. But yeah, the automated, not the automated hotel text.
That's a new one.
Might be the
That's a
first
new one
time.
for me.
How times
Yeah.
have changed. How times have changed. We used to actually have to get called in the office and not get it recorded and get called up. Now you find out before.
No, it's everywhere.
And you got a paper ticket. They handed you a paper ticket
Yes.
for your flight to where you're going.
No, not now. Not now. You're getting a text from your Denver hotel letting you know you're getting called up to the show.
That's why you got to be quick. You got to be on it. Yeah. Well, Kelsey, this was fun.
to the
Great
show.
job on that story. Exactly. Thanks for joining us here. Great to have you on. And everyone catch her, of course, on Rockies games, and you can give her a follow as well. Thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to see all of y'all.
Yes, you too. This was fun.
You're doing
All right.
a really good job.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. And if you want more on Zach Bean and Chase Dollander later, then JJ Cooper and company have you covered on Hot Sheet with the rest of the guys there. So go give that a look, and we'll be right back. Here we go. BetMGM Locks. The Rangers swept the Rays, so I lost that one. Tyler Mahle looked damn good. Hey, good for Todd Father getting on the board, getting close to level with his ATH's money line. And Kratz, no dice on the Yanks. Their offense is too good for your first 5-inning under action.
They came out after the late night game to then go play a day game. And it was just across the state essentially, but I thought they'd come out a little slow. I thought they'd get to the bullpen late. Well, they did both. And Mitch Keller was not doing it.
No. And we'll get to that series in a moment. But what do you have for us this evening? What are you cooking up?
Me?
Yeah.
Super easy. I forget it. So that's why I got to go back to my text from Claude.
We have the bet slip that
I got the over. I got the over in the Diamondbacks and Orioles game. A lot of Diamondbacks games, the over has hit. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this is even money for me. I'm going to put 102 down to win 100. Going over 8.5 in the Orioles D-backs game. The D-backs just figure out a way to score runs, whether it's against the starter or the reliever. Zach Gallen's going for the Diamondbacks. He might give up a few, but they'll give it up.
Okay. AJ, you're up.
I'm doing a double parlay because I always do parlays. I want money bags because I'm up. So I'm going Mackenzie Gore over 5.5 strikeouts tonight against the Dodgers. A lot of lefties in the Dodgers lineup. Plus the Dodgers were at the White House today, so they might be a little bit tired. So Gore's been pitching well. So over 5.5. And then Blue Jays at Red Sox over 8.5 runs. Why? Because Vlad, I think, is going to go deep. I was going to go there, but I didn't. And so that gets me to plus 213. So over in the Blue Jays Red Sox and over 5.5 for Mackenzie Gore. And also as a bonus bet, you know where I'm going. Houston to win the national championship today. They're plus 1.5. Take them.
He's taking your advice, Scott. He lost all that money last year on the White Sox. He should have been betting against the White Sox, and now that's what he's doing today. So he'll win money by taking Houston, and Florida wins. I like it.
So you're hedging your happiness, or you're rooting for a 1-point win for UF? What are you doing?
I'm rooting for a win for Houston. Scott, come on. Can't you tell by my gear?
I don't get it. Houston's
Sarcasm.
the Gators? I'm confused.
Like telling a baseball to go foul.
Let's sizzle hot corner time. So we can cover the Pirates-Yankees series in here, but it was the Pirates home opener on Friday, and frankly, it was an utter disaster. A 9 spot for the Yanks. Judge hit an oppo homer. They had some mistakes on the field. It just didn't look like good, clean first home game baseball from Pittsburgh. And fans were heated, AJ. We can only go off what we hear on the broadcast and what reporters were saying, many of which have spent a long time covering the team. And the consensus was sell the team. Sell the team. They were chanting loud. It sounded like Oakland last year. And then there was the one fan trying to chat with Bob Nutting, who had the kind of fake oopsie smile on his face, the owner of the Pirates, as he was trying to head to his suite, but he wanted to just, I guess, walk through the concourse to get there, or maybe there's no other way to get there. I don't know. They lost the next day. They did pull off a walk-off win yesterday, 5-4. They're off to a bad start, and it just feels like they finally hit a boiling point on many levels because they are going through a long rebuild right now, and it looks like the same sludge this year.
Where do you start? The video of the fans getting after him is one of the craziest, funniest videos of all time. I don't expect or want to condone at all any fan going up to an owner and saying some of the things that were said. So let's get that out there in the air. Out in the open.
You want to show it first?
Yeah, we can show it because listen, say what you want to say. Be respectful, though. The guy, he still owns the team, so be a little bit respectful.
I wouldn't say it because of that. I'd just say be respectful because he's a human being.
Also true.
Because he owns the team, I don't care about that because he's not treating it right.
He is a human being, but I mean, I don't know. But just be respectful to other people, please. And so. And fans caught him. But what I don't want to know is why was Bob Nutting walking through the crowd? He knew this was coming. You have to know. You cannot be that dense in life, right, Kratzy? To know that if I walk out through the crowd at this point with all the stuff that's been going on, that someone's not going to say something crazy to me. And this guy took a shot. And Bob Nutting, I'll give him credit for this. He didn't fire back, and he got a security to get in the way and get him out of there. But you had to know this was coming, and that's what's surprising to me.
I mean, there's definitely another way to get to his suite. I think he planned to walk out there because if you see where he's walking, if we can show the video or not, if you see the video, he's walking up that rotunda, I think it's called, that goes in left field. It's circular. It gets you to the upper deck. It's a really, really awesome, unique thing that that PNC Park has. But you go there and you're like, why would you walk through? As much as I'm like, hey, be an owner of the people, because John Middleton was just on the Phillies show the other day. You can see he's out among the people, and people are chirping a little bit here. Like it's an awesome walk. So I like that you're all out around the people, and he acts like nobody's even talking to him. But
yeah, and they're screaming, "Sell the team, sell the team," and the whole ballpark was doing that really for the entire game for the Friday home opener. Yeah, it was kind of a nightmare series aside from the walk-off win, but we just showed you a little bit of video there, and there's nothing to hear. They're just yelling, "Sell the team, what's the deal? Why is Trent Grisham having the time of his life this weekend against us?" Stuff like that. Yeah, 2-homer game, Oppo shot. What was that?
We're getting to this
Saturday.
My bigger question is not only did this happen, but I think we're going to go there. The Roberto Clemente stuff to me was like, that is like, you can be the owner and you can piss off folks, but one thing you don't do in Pittsburgh is you don't mess with Roberto Clemente. And for them to take the Roberto Clemente 21 off the wall, that is the Roberto Clemente wall, and it's 21 feet high because of Roberto Clemente. And if you ask Latin players in baseball, they will tell you that they think Roberto Clemente was as important as a Jackie Robinson, and that they should retire that number throughout baseball. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you see the difference right there. And for them to for the Pirates to be like, it was an oversight. Like, are you kidding me? It was an oversight. Like, what? That was one of the cool features of going to PNC, was that wall and why it was there, and the height was special and everything. So I don't know. I think that was just more of the bad weekend vibes that Scott was talking about.
Yeah, they're fixing it. I mean, you needed Roberto Clemente Jr. to come out publicly and almost kind of hint that there are fractures and things that need to be fixed in general. It's just, it's really ugly. And the team was like, oh, this was just an oversight. Oopsie. To me, I'm like, you had to physically remove it or replace it. That's not an oversight, is it? And it's like Kratz, they said because they decided after COVID that they would put the extra 21 up there. I'm like, okay. It just feels like when you're honoring someone who is a legend in the organization who has passed, you can't put something up and then take it away. Part of the excuse on the oopsie was like, well, we have other stuff honoring him. I get it. I get the sponsorship part, right? Everyone has sponsorship to pay the bills, but like there are many other places to put something. You think that replacing something like that with a sponsor is going to go over well? Now the sponsor's pissed and they probably want their money back.
As they should. Don't offer that to them. They did this on purpose. And I'm not sure what his name was, the guy who said, I take full responsibility, head of sales. Travis
Williams, not president of the team.
Travis. Thank you. And he said, I take full responsibility. But then if he would have stopped there, you'd have been like, okay, fine. But then he said, well, we actually have 21. And if you were to look at that picture, it's really hard to see. But above the scoreboard, about halfway up, there's a cement line. It's where people can like stand. And it's above that automated scoreboard that they have there. And it's a 21 that's this big. To me, they felt like they had done enough. They felt like they had enough Roberto Clemente. You can see it. I mean, so tiny. The black on the right picture, there's a 21. The scoreboard's off, so you can really see it. It's a little dot on the scoreboard. I mean, above the scoreboard there. That says 21, and I think there's one at the other end of it. To me, they felt like they had given enough respect and homage to me, he's bigger than just the Pirates. There's a Roberto Clemente museum in Pittsburgh. Like, Pirates fans connect with this. There is a majority of players that connect with Roberto Clemente and what he did and his ability to bring Latin players that opened it up some for Latin. There's Latin players before him, but he really brought that flash and flair. And a lot of them that never knew him really gravitated to that. And they missed it. And now you gotta figure out what to do with Surfside, because you told them, hey, we can sell you the foul pole line. We can sell you the line right next to the foul pole. That's going to be huge, because when home runs go there, now where are they going to put them? You better figure it out, because you had this and you made that promise. Now Surfside can sponsor Hot Corner if they want. We'll always show you on here.
That's true. But also, if I'm them, I'm pissed that there was a miscommunication here, because it's not on the sponsor to know exactly what was replacing what and all that. So you made them look bad, and that's not cool. So yeah, there were a lot of really big swings and misses from the Pirates this weekend. Aside from Tommy Pham with the walk-off after a blown lead 4-1, Grisham got him again at one point. It would have been really bad. But regardless, like you got to pick on them when they're down right now, because fans need a voice, and we're here for you, because it's BS what's gone on there. Meanwhile, Yankees look really good as usual. They won 2 out of 3 here. They're off to a nice start to the year. Let's hit the Giants and Rangers when we swing back, both off to sizzling starts.
FT fam, what's up? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you, pick of the day, baby. But listen, White Sox and Angels aren't playing, so I can't go with the parlay. I'm just going to go with one game today. That's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates plus money in the money line at plus 105. I got to take that. So reason why I'm taking that is because St. Louis, I watched them play 2 games yesterday in Fenway, and they were horrible. And they don't show me nothing, and I think the Pirates are up and coming team this year. So I'm going against them. If I could parlay it, I would parlay this bet with the Houston Cougars beating Florida Gators tonight. But that's a basketball, beating AJ's Florida Gators. So I would normally do that, but I'm just going to stick to the Pirates today. Let's get that cheese.
See, what I
I
tell
knew that was
you?
coming.
Didn't I say pick Houston? I said pick Houston, didn't I? Take Houston.
Yeah,
See?
I
AJ
said
would
that this
rather be
weekend, it
right.
worked out. Yep.
You know what?
AJ
You know
would
what? That's
rather
right.
be right.
Not with your head, not with your heart, Kratzy. But I'm gonna say this: what does Pep have against me so bad? Besides the fact that Florida kicks Mississippi State's ass in every sport, what does he have against me? I don't understand. Like every time he bets any team that I like, halfway like, he's like, I got to bet against them.
Well, he likes picking on the White Sox last year, as did many others who were profitable there. And then you took your shots back, and the rivalry was sparked, which I love. By the way, just quickie for me, I'll take the Royals tonight. Just money line. Let me get back on the board. Minus 120. I like the pitching matchup in their favor. I like the way they're swinging the bats, making contact right now. So 120 to win 100. Keep it simple. And if you're new on BetMGM, then you should enter the code FOUL, FOUL. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Of course, if you're betting on Houston and UF tonight for the championship game and you're heading over there for the first time, this applies for you as well. It's not just for baseball. If the bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's hit some Giants and Rangers sizzling starts talk coming up next. Oh, Buster Posey's looking good right now. Best record in baseball belongs to a team that's won 7 in a row. The San Francisco Giants. They played some close games this weekend, too, against Seattle. Obviously, Seattle gets swept. They lose Robles for a while. It could be bad news for them. But on the other side here, AJ, Adames for the home opener, getting the walk-off. And I've already heard from, Zach Manasian, who is the brother of Perry, who runs the Angels, that Adames in there, this was a good line from him, treats every game like opening day. Like every game is this genuine excitement that you're playing again without overdoing it. And that is a fine line. So it sounds like he's already really like bringing the spark that you saw with him in the Milwaukee Brewers for years.
This is why he was so valuable in Milwaukee. Besides the stats, just the smile he brings, the energy he brings. Kratz knows. Kratz saw him. But listen, man, I know. I think that the Giants, listen, are they off to a hot start? Yes. Is it great for the Giants and their fan base? Yes. Is it great for Buster Posey? Absolutely. You know why? You know what the best part about this is? Baseball players can run teams. Look at the Red Sox. Look at the Rangers. Look at the Giants now. Baseball players, it doesn't have to just be people from Ivy League schools, right? Baseball players know baseball. Let's put some more baseball players in there. I'm happy for Giants fans. They're excited. It's good for baseball when teams win. You bring someone back, past player. Guess what? Buster Posey, a legend in San Francisco. He wants the Giants to win. We need to see more of this. We need baseball people in baseball.
Can his just aura of winning? I mean, Buster Posey is just he's winning. That's what it is. The one, they won, and then he got hurt, and they didn't win. And then he was back again. They won again, and it was an off year. Like he was always in the playoffs, and he was always around winning. So can that permeate in just his first year in the front office? Because he was working for the team. Now that he's pushing the buttons, is he really making that much of a difference? I don't know, but this is a great start. A lot of close games. It would say that those close games would even out, but close games are won not by offense, by pitching and defense. And these boys can pick it. They can pick it. And if they know how to play in San Fran, maybe they have an advantage there because they can pick it and they're going to try to be able to, outlast teams with their pitching and defense, which could be huge.
But does anybody think they're going to win the division? Even though it's a nice start. I'm just saying.
They be wild card hopefuls.
I know Scott doesn't care, but they do have a negative run differential.
I definitely don't care because they're winning close games right now. Runners in scoring position machines, 2 out RBIs, walk-off wins. Adames was a Posey ad, right? Chapman getting extended, who had a nice weekend with some big plays and some timely hits, was kind of a Posey move with the way that he got it done. And overall, I do know that there have been some changes already with the analytics staff still doing their thing, but taking a step back and being so close to the players and kind of surrounding them. And I mean, you guys tell me, does that make a difference right off the jump? If you feel like it's a little more baseball and just a little more separation in the right way.
As long as it's done
Sure,
right.
because they're winning.
But let me ask you this,
they're
Scott.
winning.
You also, Scott, you say, oh, it doesn't matter who you play. Who did they just sweep?
Seattle, they swept Houston before that, and they won 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati, and that one loss was by 1 run. So they look good. Those are all good teams.
But I'm just asking. You always say, it doesn't matter who you play, but I mean, Seattle's not playing great. They're not swinging the bats very well.
Houston's
But
that's not a bad team.
We know just went to a 35 scoreless. I'm just saying.
I know, but it's not like they opened up against the Rockies and White Sox. To me, those are all formidable teams, even if they're average teams. They're good. Houston should be good. Seattle, yes, I don't think I think they're going to be in the same range as usual. They'll be in like the low to mid 80s. They'll miss the playoffs by a game or two, 54%.com. And then Cincinnati, we don't know yet. But my point is, they're not bad teams.
Okay, I just wanted. I love how you flip the narrative to however you want it to fit the script.
That's not true. What, we're talking about the Rays when they had their undefeated start and they played some weaker opponents.
He's a scout. He's a scout. He writes whatever he writes whatever narrative he wants. This guy, unbelievable, great speed, not high end speed, but speed that comes off the bases. Scott's a scout. We hear it. We hear it in him. He flips the narrative when he needs it.
I think AJ misses me. We're going to be in studio together on Wednesday, as long as there's not another national championship game. Aren't we?
Hugs.
I mean, I'll be there. I don't know if I'll change the code on my door or not.
Knocking on the door.
Depends on the schedule. We'll be right back. All right, here we are. First off, one more bit of news in the AL West, or the National League West, make it. Ketel Marte, hamstring strain, put on the IL Saturday. That happened in Friday's game, running out a double in the first inning. He was off to a hot start, 167 OPS plus, first 8 games, 6 walks to 4 Ks. They'll be okay, but that still sucks. I mean, he's a top 5 player right now in the National League based on what he did last year and the start to this year. So that helps San Francisco, too, to stay in the pack here with the wild card contenders. It knocks Arizona back potentially a couple games, depending on how long he misses. Rangers 8-2. They sweep the Rays. Thoughts?
Rangers are good.
Their offense hasn't even gotten going really yet.
No, the Rangers are good. By the way, sorry, I got confused. I thought we were talking Rangers. The Rangers have the negative run differential. Sorry. Not the Giants. Sorry. The Giants actually have a huge run differential. The Rangers are the ones. So apologies, everybody in the chat and Twitter. I was confused. I was listening, but I was too excited to burn Scott on the Rangers instead of the Giants. So go Giants. As someone that has their number retired by the Giants, I'm a Giant. So I get it.
And you're a Ranger. And the Rangers I had winning
I'm
the division.
Ranger.
Yes.
And the Rangers are 8-2, and they do have a negative run differential. So, yes. So Scott, they suck, according to you.
Isn't that because of the one game where they got clocked by the Reds?
Yeah, but still.
That's why run differential is so stupid. It's so dumb. It is such a bad stat. And the fact that super smart numbers people rely on that, like, oh, their Pythagorean record. I'm like, so a team can lose 2 games by a combined score of 30-3 and throw somebody out there that just eats it for a while, and that's going to affect how you look at that team for the year? Ugh. That's a terrible stat.
I like it.
What do you think about the Rangers?
That's his scout coming out again, Kratzy, by the way, because, he just picks the stats he likes. But I like the Rangers. I love the Rangers. I think the Rangers are good as long as their pitching staff stays healthy. Jack Leiter's already down. Can DeGrom stay healthy? Can Evaldi stay healthy? Can Malley stay healthy? If they do, but Bruce Bochy can run a bullpen.
That's the biggest thing. Boch will get that value out of that bullpen no matter what time of year it is.
Correct. All right, so good start for them. Played a nice series against a Rays team that is probably going to stand out for its pitching more than anything else. They got to Taj Bradley in that matchup. What was that, on Saturday? They got to Taj. So, good start for them. Yeah, the offense isn't blowing up yet, but it looks like it could. That's the scary part.
Negative run differential, Scott.
All right, let's slap. We've got a lot of things to do. First off, watch party. Next one we're going to do this once a week on playback. Dodgers and Nationals. It'll be a foul territory, Dodgers territory, a little collab. We'll call that whole game. 4 o'clock Eastern time. Catch it this Wednesday. We'll give you more info tomorrow and, of course, on Wednesday as well. Alana Rizzo already confirmed, and we're working on some others as well. All right, let's get to AJ's story here for 2 minutes. I want to hear about your Max Muncy conversation because he's coming on the show tomorrow.
I know I'm not gonna be on tomorrow because I have to get home from San Antonio. By the way, if you haven't been to San Antonio, I haven't been here. I've been here one other time. It's awesome. The river walk is awesome, and it's not hot, so which makes it even better. So I'll be on Wednesday again, unless I fall into the river after Florida wins tonight and I don't get out, which is a distinct possibility. We'll see. But I was in Philadelphia this weekend. I as a Fox analyst, we get to go in the clubhouses, and Max was in there, and I was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of struggling." I'm like, "Dude, you're like 3 for 20. I forget what the numbers were, whatever." I'm like, "But if this was in June, nobody would care." He's like, "That's a good point." I'm like, "Max, you've gotten too many hits. You're too good to let this go." And he's like, "You're right. And I'm like, "Oh, you got Nolan. He's going to flip you some curveballs. Just get out in front and clip it out front and hit one down the right field line, and then you go from there." And he's like, da 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 da. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to swing at the curveball. I'm like, well, at some point you're going to have to swing at one. He's just kind of like, I don't know. But it all started because I wanted to see his torpedo bat, which he had thrown in the garbage because he said it had no hits in it. So I'm like, just, get your torpedo bat out of the garbage, flip one down the right field line, you'll get going. Well, Max Muncy, guess what he does? 3 for 3. I had no idea at the time. He was 1 for 21 off Nola with 11 punchies. I had absolutely no idea because I hadn't read the notes yet. Instead, I felt like an idiot. He went out, went 3 for 3. So Max, you owe me something for those 3 for 3 when you come on tomorrow, brother.
Wow. That was coaching status right there. Wow.
Yep. Had no idea. Yep. Went in there, was like, just, believe in yourself. Come on. You can do it. And boom.
Do it for the Gipper.
Do it for the old man up there in the booth. Let's go. And 3 for 3. So off Nola. All off Nola, too, by the way.
Somebody get AJ. Somebody get AJ some on his shoulders, patting himself on the back. Worst hitting coach ever. Never tell anybody to give hitting coach advice.
It worked, though.
It did.
Hey, we're back. Mayday, by the way, is on later today on the FT YouTube channel, and then it eventually moves over to Mayday's channel. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern time. I'll join Trevor for the first 20, 30 minutes or so. I'll be his first guest on Mayday. I don't know why he chose me. Maybe everybody else wasn't answering him. I don't know. But anyway, I'll join him. So join us. That follows Spaceball America Hot Sheet, which is on at 3:30, and we're obviously running into Dodgers territory, which starts in 3 minutes. A few other rapid-fire things. We didn't get to it, but for those Padres fans out there, they did finally lose a game, so we don't have any undefeated teams. We don't have any winless teams since we last had a show. Just wanted to get that in there, that they fell on Friday afternoon 3-1 to an ace, in my mind, in Shota Imanaga. 7 1/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts. PCA made a ridiculous catch, smashing against the wall. Carson Kelly's on fire for the Cubs. They did fall yesterday after blowing a 4-run lead. They've done that, I think, twice already this year. So Padres lose 2 out of 3. They still look really good, though. AJ, that's a good team.
No, very good team. Very good team. As long as, again, it just keeps coming back. I hate keep saying this. If they stay healthy, it's like that with so many teams. Geez, if every team stays healthy, well, it'd be a fun year. But no one stays healthy. So if the Padres pitching and stay healthy, especially their bullpen, they're going to be a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would like to see Mike Trout stay healthy, as he had a nice weekend bopping homers. His teammate Logan O'Hoppe has a homer in 4 straight games. Jose Ramirez had a 3-run homer on Friday. I think the Angels are 6-3. I want to say, to start the year. So
Jose had 3 homers. Jose had 3 homers, not
3
a
homers
three-run
on Friday.
Oh,
I
said
said
3-run homer. Yeah,
3 homers on Friday. Yep. So that one stood out. Tigers sweep the White Sox. Oh man, I was so tempted to put so much down on a live bet yesterday, and then I got busy, and I'm like, here we go. White Sox bullpen all year long. Tigers get the comeback dub. Yeah. Torkelson had some nice clutch knocks for the team. Perry Carpenter looks like a star, just like he did last year. Kratz hat's on the way out.
I mean, best team in baseball. How can you not wear? If your record's the best, I'll wear your hat.
Boom. There you go. Same thing, I guess, applies for college hoops.
Pray for me. Just pray for me. That's all I'm saying.
Luck.
Pray for me. Not about the game.
Forget
the game. No, forget the game. I'm talking about pray for me that I don't fall in the river walk.
Okay. I will. Otherwise, give me your code so I can get in on Wednesday to the studio.